Update. My boss just reacted to my message asking for a raise with haha. Original post. I posted here a while ago asking if having a salary of $13,000 a month in local currency, about 224 USD as a software developer, was enough. I'm a graduating student, and this company hired me after my internship. When I accepted the role, I expected to do the same tasks I did during my internship, so I thought the pay was fair. But then they assigned me more complex tasks, like creating a payroll system, which required studying thousands of lines of code, hundreds of tables, and understanding the entire process from scratch. Keep in mind, it's just me and my senior on the team. I took it as a challenge and slowly started to enjoy it, but now I feel like the minimum salary isn't enough since I'm handling multiple projects, and my responsibilities have significantly increased. Today I finally got the courage to message my boss and ask if a raise was possible. I was polite, simply asking if it could be considered, and explaining why I felt I deserved it. She just reacted with a haha, and even sent a smiling face with heart eyes emoji. I don't know if it was sarcastic, but I was only asking a simple yes or no question. I didn't even mention a specific amount. Now I feel like I'm being treated unfairly. As much as I want to leave immediately, I still need the income. But this experience has really motivated me to start looking for another job as soon as possible. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Your boss is deflecting the conversation at hand. $13K, as you're already aware, is too low, especially as starting salary. Immediately drop your job as your priority in life and prioritize getting a job that knows your worth. I didn't see it that way, but that makes sense. And yeah, I know it's way too low, haha. I can't leave immediately since I'm still studying and supporting myself, but I'm already applying for other jobs. Just looking for a company that accepts graduating students. Start applying for backup options. If you get accepted or receive multiple offers, present them to your boss and see if they can match them. If not, you're ready to move on since you already have a standing offer. Make sure you have leverage. That was actually my initial plan, to secure an offer before asking for a raise, since I still enjoy the work and the setup I have here. But I just wanted to take a shot at asking tonight. I guess her response was a sign that I should walk away once I find a backup. It's kind of sad, because I really love my work here despite the low salary. Thank you for the advice. Bad idea. Even if your company matches the offer, do not accept it. Leave and move on. If you stay, they will eventually fire you. It's very unprofessional to tell your company that you have another offer and that you'll only stay if they match it. Your boss and HR are not kids. They are cunning. This isn't a game. I was a fresh graduate, and a company once offered me $15,000 to basically be their entire IT department. This was almost 8 years ago. Luckily, I had a friend with experience who advised me to look elsewhere. $13K is laughable considering the workload they've assigned you. Yeah, that's what others told me too, when I posted on a subreddit last time. Thanks for slapping me with reality again. I'm feeling motivated to start applying again tonight. Now for the update. Thank you all for the advice and for giving me a reality check. Here's an update on my situation. I waited 2 days for a proper response from my boss, but I guess her initial reaction was her answer. Regardless, I had already planned to resign and was just looking for another job to transition into. Just a day after posting this, I was able to quickly land an international client from an online job, who is paying me 4 times my monthly salary. The task seems easier than my usual work, at least in theory, but I still have some concerns since the tools are new to me and different from what I'm used to. However, I believe we grow the most from challenges that scare us. And stepping out of our comfort zone is where real learning happens. So thanks for motivating me to apply. As soon as I secured the deal, I immediately submitted my resignation. My boss later replied, apologizing for the late response and saying she was actually considering my request. She could have mentioned that when I first asked, instead of just reacting with a haha and an emoji though. She then asked if I could at least work reduced hours, since many of their clients had started with me. That honestly made me smile, because suddenly she saw my worth. Yet, when I initially asked for a raise, it seemed like I wasn't even worth a simple response, not even a short yes or no. Unfortunately, I didn't do what some of you suggested, reacting to her message with haha or replying with just a crying emoji. Instead, I told her that I had already made up my mind. I kept it polite because I didn't want to burn any bridges, as I still appreciate the experience I gained from the company. Thank you all for helping me realize my worth. I've learned my lesson, and I will never go through that again. Last time an employer did that to me, I found a new job in 2 weeks, and when I gave notice, he claimed I blindsided him. Happy for you, man. Oh no, how could this be? My employee blindsided me with a resignation just a few weeks after I ignored their request for a raise. Surely it's not about money, right? They just lack loyalty and resilience. This is definitely not my fault. Some bosses, really. So proud of what you did. That's the right approach. Keep it professional. Even though what your boss did was unprofessional, just reacting with a haha to your message. And now, only when you have a better offer does she suddenly see your worth. Good luck on your new job, OP. Thank you. Kill him with kindness, I guess. Congratulations! Are you still going to work on your notice period, bro? Surprisingly, they're not asking me to keep working. I just told them I would hand over the files and work I have, and I'm good to go. I also don't have a contract, so I don't think I'm obligated to. Second story. Update. Me, 39 female, with my 44 male depressed colleague, accused me of bullying him. Original post. I manage a team of 12 people, and last year, a 13th member was added when other managers refused to deal with him any longer. He has been diagnosed with depression and generalized anxiety disorder. He is morbidly obese and suffers from musculoskeletal problems related to obesity and diabetes. When they assigned him to me, it was because I had successfully helped other employees with mental health challenges. I was happy to take him on, believing I could support him. We made some progress, steadily increasing his level of work. While his performance never reached an acceptable standard, I made accommodations to relieve pressure, hoping this would lead to sustained long-term improvement. I also arranged for ergonomic equipment to help him be more physically comfortable due to his obesity. I genuinely felt we were making progress. Unfortunately, he committed a serious security breach by sending out personal information to someone who was not legally entitled to have it. As a result, I had to place him on formal disciplinary action. Since then, he has been on sick leave for over 3 months. He is now subject to attendance management procedures and has reached out to a local mental health group, claiming that I have bullied and harassed him. According to him, this has made it impossible for him to return to work. I have documented evidence proving that this is not true. When he was informed that he needed to be moved away from me for health and safety reasons, he became very distressed and insisted on staying under my supervision for mental health reasons. I also have signed documentation where he states that I am supportive and that he does not want the reasonable accommodations I have offered, such as shorter work days, fewer work days, and longer breaks. I now have a meeting with him and his support workers from the mental health group, and I have no idea how to handle it. How do I approach this? I can prove that he is lying, and I know he has a pattern of lying to get himself out of trouble. I am not worried about my bosses, as they are well aware that this is an utterly unfounded allegation. My main concern is that he is completely unsuited for the job, and because he refuses to acknowledge any responsibility for his mistakes, it is impossible to correct his performance. Now for the top advice before reading the crazy update. Let HR handle it. I have spoken with our internal HR, but they are terrified that any accusations of bullying someone with mental health problems could be problematic, since it's a hot topic at the moment. I have referred him for internal counseling, and he has repeatedly confirmed that he has taken up this service. My concern is that this meeting is not an internal one. It is with representatives from a mental health advocacy group. I don't know how to respectfully state that he is lying without sounding like a bully. To be clear, his lies aren't malicious, and I don't believe this one is either. He says things to solve an immediate problem. In this case, he needs to justify his extended sick leave, and admitting it is due to his own actions is too overwhelming. So instead, I am being bullied shifts the responsibility away from him. The reality is that he has control over his situation, but he is so used to portraying himself as a victim that he refuses to acknowledge the truth. Judging from your explanation, it sounds like you have an understanding and empathetic attitude toward this person and the situation. That attitude, along with the documentation you have regarding the accommodations you've offered, should go a long way in your defense. What exactly is he accusing you of? I'm not a professional in this area, but I have extensive experience working with people with mental health challenges in social work/education settings. He believes that by pointing out his security breach and substandard level of work, I have bullied him. He doesn't deny that he made the mistakes. His claim is that expecting him to improve is a form of bullying and harassment. I have made significant allowances for him. Other employees are expected to handle approximately 16 cases per day, accurately. I told him I would be happy with just 2 cases per day if he did them correctly. Unfortunately, he is unable to complete even 2 cases without mistakes. Despite allowing him to work at a much slower pace, he believes that he should be given the same margin of error as someone handling 16 cases. Because I expect him to complete 2 cases with 0 errors, while others handling 16 cases have some allowance for minor mistakes, he feels that he is being unfairly targeted. Now for the update. The meeting went ahead as planned, and thanks to the wonderful advice and tips from those who kindly responded, I was calm and felt prepared. Boy, was I wrong. My colleague and his support worker were both present, and the meeting started off well. I asked how he was doing, what steps he was taking to prepare for his return to work, etc., and nothing unexpected came up. As arranged, I brought up the allegations of bullying and asked for specific examples to help me understand what was happening. After worrying myself sick about this, his answer was actually quite disappointing. He provided no examples, only vague explanations about how his anxiety made him overreact to other people's conversations, making him feel like he was being picked on. I advised him, with my boss backing me up, that there was literally nothing I could do about that. I patiently explained that I could not ban people from talking, and I was not going to sit in silence just to ensure he never heard anything he didn't like. My boss also emphasized that his poor performance needed to be addressed, as that was part of my job, and that doing so in no way constituted harassment. His support worker agreed, and we had a brief discussion about how I could communicate with him more effectively. To be honest, nothing they suggested was particularly helpful, but I agreed to be mindful of his condition moving forward. Then things got weird. I asked if there was anything I could do to help him transition back into work. This usually involves a phased return, switching to part-time hours, etc. But not this time. As I was talking, he started taking paperwork out of a folder, and I should have realized something was up when his support worker sighed deeply and slumped down in his chair. My colleague requested that he be allowed to bring an emotional support animal to work with him, namely, a support cat. We're in the UK, and this is not the norm, so I was a bit surprised. He hadn't settled on a breed yet, but was torn between an Abyssinian or a Siamese. I thought that pointing out some obvious difficulties with this idea might make him realize how inappropriate it was. For example, I reminded him that we already have a guide dog in the building for a partially sighted colleague. His name is Rufus, and he is by far the most popular being in the office, the dog, not the human. I explained that introducing a cat might cause issues. He responded by telling me that it was illegal to discriminate by favoring one disability over another, and that if a blind person could have a guide dog, then a depressed person should be allowed to have a cat. I moved on from this clearly idiotic point and asked how a cat would react to being placed in a pet carrier twice a day to travel to and from work. He confidently replied that he would train the cat. At this point, my boss became very agitated and demanded, "How the heck do you train a cat?" Not to be deterred, my colleague stated that in the worst-case scenario, he would leave the cat at work overnight and only take it home on weekends. I asked how he intended to handle cleaning the litter box, considering his serious weight issues made bending down difficult. He proudly presented me with a spreadsheet he had created, complete with a team rotation for feeding the cat and cleaning up after it. He had even costed out the expenses for food, insurance, and the actual cost of the cat. The spreadsheet included an expected donation from each team member based on how he perceived their financial circumstances. I was expected to contribute the most since I am single, earn more, and have no dependent children. The spreadsheet was quite impressive, color-coded and everything. I politely said no. He then insisted that the company should pay for the cat, arguing that it would be a legitimate business expense to accommodate his disability. At this point, I realized my boss was still muttering, "How the heck do you train a cat?" while the support worker was shaking his head and quietly saying, "I told you not to do this." So, I made a unilateral decision on behalf of the company and firmly stated that we would not be buying any cats, nor would we be cleaning up after any cats, because we would not be permitting any cats on the premises. He was not happy. He complained that I was making it impossible for him to return to work. My boss, breaking free from his cat training tangent, decided that we had gone as far as we could for the time being and ended the meeting. As we were leaving, he made a point of telling the support worker there will be no bloody cats. The support worker nodded and agreed that this was entirely fair. I didn't hear anything for a week or so, then received another 4-week sick note from him. Per company procedure, I called to check in on how he was doing. He was still very upset about my discriminatory anti-cat stance and informed me that he would be taking it further. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from what initially appeared to be a local solicitor's office. It informed me that I was being sued for breaking disability discrimination laws. However, upon closer examination, the letterhead had been altered to include his home phone number and personal mobile. The address was also incorrect. It wasn't the solicitor's office at all. I'm not sure whose address he used, but it certainly wasn't legitimate. I handed it to my boss, who had also received a letter, and both were forwarded to our legal department. I was advised to have no further contact with him. Shortly afterward, the legal team confirmed that his contract had been terminated with immediate effect. I am honestly stunned at how this all played out. I half expected him to be let go due to excessive absences and his unwillingness to improve his performance, but I never imagined it would end like this. It's both hilarious and sad. Thank you so much to everyone who helped me prepare for the meeting. Your advice and support meant the world to me. I love how far removed from reality this guy is. I'll bring a cat as a support animal. How are you going to clean up after it? Or feed it? You guys are going to do it. Yeah, no. And buy the cat as a business expense. And a purebred cat, no less. Do you know how much those specific breeds of cats can cost? At least $2,500, depending on the breeder and the cat's lineage. Breeding cats is no joke, and that's just the starting figure. I love how this guy specifically wanted a purebred cat. Not just any cat, but an Abyssinian or a Siamese. This guy is Delulu. Also, those breeds are noisy AF. Let's just say they make their presence known loudly. Sounds perfect for a quiet office setting. Side note, I'm a vet tech, which is why I know about cat prices. One of my cats is a rag doll from a breeder. She flunked out and wasn't up to snuff for the breeder to use in their line, but they didn't realize that until she was almost a year old. They didn't want to just sell or give her to just anyone. So I ended up with her free of charge, but I saw the pricing for what she would have sold for. Yikes. I can't stop laughing at the boss who got so caught up on a training a cat tangent and just zoned out. He's now forging letters from lawyers. This is serious misconduct. We need to let him go. Okay, whatever. But how the hell do you train a cat?